The blind dragon had screamed every night for 30 years. The sound shook the palace walls. It woke children in their beds. It drove soldiers to cover their ears and servants to whisper prayers in the dark. The kingdom called him a monster. The Dragon King called him a failure. The priests called him cursed. Only one person ever guessed the truth. The dragon was not screaming. He was weeping, and the girl who heard it was about to be fed to him. Her name was Asha. The court called her the secret witch. 2 guards walked her across the dragon yards at dusk. Her wrists were bound. The whole Ash court had come to watch her die. Witch! Someone hissed. A child threw a stone. It missed. Asha did not flinch. She kept her eyes ahead and her chin level. She had been raised in the servants' quarters. No mother, no name worth saying. She had spent her whole life being small, so no one would notice her. They had noticed her now. The Dragon Master waited at the edge of the pit. Varric, thin, cold, the silver chain of his office bright at his throat. "You stand accused," he said loud enough for the crowd, "of dark magic." "I have no magic," Asha said. "The beast goes silent when you pass. A war dragon refused to strike you in the training yard. You whisper, and they obey." He smiled without warmth. "Call it what you like. The sentence is the same." "And what is my sentence?" Varric gestured to the dark beneath them. "Morvath is hungry. He has killed 3 handlers in 30 years. Tonight, he eats a witch." The court murmured. Some looked pleased, most looked away. Asha looked down into the pit. She had heard the screaming all her life, every night through the stone, from the moment she was old enough to remember. The whole kingdom heard a monster. She had always heard something else. "He will not eat me," she said quietly. Varric laughed. "They all find something brave to say at the end." High on the balcony stood the Dragon King, Draven. Tall, dark-bearded, weary about the eyes. He wore his crown the way a man wears an old wound. He did not laugh. He did not speak. He only watched the witch, and the thing in his face was not cruelty. It was dread. "Lower her," Varric said. They cut the rope from her wrists. The iron gate groaned open, and they sent the secret witch down to the blind dragon. The pit was cold and black. The gate clanged shut above her. Far overhead, the court ringed the opening like faces around a grave. Asha stood very still. She breathed. She waited. Then she heard him move. The drag of chains. The scrape of something vast across stone. A breath, like a forge. And a smell of ash and old, old grief. Morvath came out of the dark. He was enormous. Ash-gray, scarred from snout to tail, his scales worn smooth where the chains had bitten for 30 years. And his eyes were clouded, white, sightless. Someone above gasped. They were all waiting for the lunge, the scream, the end of it. Asha did not run. There was nowhere to run. But she did not want to. Because the moment he drew near, she felt it, the thing she had heard every night of her life, vast now and close, and overwhelming. It was not rage. It was pain. It rolled off him in waves, a loneliness with no bottom. 30 years of it. The despair of a creature that had long since stopped believing anyone would ever come. Asha's eyes filled. She had not wept in years. She wept now. "Oh," she breathed. "Oh, you poor thing, they never understood you at all." Morvath went still. For the first time in 3 decades, the blind dragon stopped. He lowered his great head. Slowly. Down and down until it rested on the cold stone before her feet. The court fell silent. "Sorcery," Varric said. But it wasn't. Asha lifted one hand. She laid it gently on the rough, warm scales above his ruined eyes. "I hear you," she said. "I've always heard you. I'm sorry no one came." A sound moved through Morvath. Not a scream, but a long, shuddering breath. The breath of someone setting down a weight he has carried too far. Above them, the court had no words for what they were watching. On the balcony, Draven gripped the rail until his knuckles went white. "Bring her up," he said. Varric turned. "Majesty, you heard me. Open the gate, bring her up. Alive. She is condemned, the court has seen. The court has seen a witch survive a beast that killed 3 men. Draven's voice was low and hard. Would you have them watch me execute the one creature he will not harm? Bring her up. Varik's jaw tightened. But a king is a king. He gave the order. The gate opened. Guards reached down. And as they pulled Asha back toward the torchlight, Morvith made a sound that froze every soul in the yard. He keened, high and broken. The sound of something losing the only kindness it had known in 30 years. Asha stopped at the gate. She looked back into the dark. I'll come back, she said. I promise you, I'll come back. They brought her before the Dragon King in the lower hall, away from the crowd. Varik came too, furious, the silver chain trembling at his throat. She must die tonight, he said. Whatever she is dangerous. A girl who can quiet a war beast is a girl who can turn one against us. Or calm one, Draven said. You would trade 30 years of doctrine for a kitchen witch? Draven looked at Asha, bound again, soaked through, still standing straight. What did you do down there? He asked her. Quietly. Almost gently. Nothing, she said. I listened. It's all I've ever done. Men have died in that pit. Men went down with whips and spears. I went down with empty hands. She met his eyes without fear. He didn't want to eat me, Majesty. He wanted someone to know he was still in there. Something crossed Draven's face. Quick, and painful, and gone. The East Tower, he told the guards. Not the cells, the tower. Post a watch. No one touches her without my word. Majesty, Varik began. That is all, Dragon Master. That night, Asha did not sleep. She sat by the tower window. And through the dark, she heard him. Morvath was screaming again. But now she understood every note of it. Not fury, grief. Calling out into a world that had only ever answered with chains. She pressed her palm to the cold glass. I'm here, she whispered. Though he could not hear. I haven't forgotten you. In the morning, a key turned in her door. It was not a guard, it was the king. You wish to see him again, Draven said. It was not a question. Yes. Why? Because no one else will. Draven was quiet a long moment. The handlers won't go near him. Varik says he is beyond saving. He paused. Go. A guard will take you each evening. Tell no one I allowed it. So Asha went down into the dark again. And again. Each evening while the court dined above. And each time Morvith came to her. Each time he laid his great scarred head at her feet. Like a creature finally permitted to rest. She learned to listen deeper. Beneath the loneliness there was an older pain. A wound under the wound. And one evening she understood what had been done to him. She traced the scars around his ruined eyes. They were not the marks of battle. They were too neat. Too careful. Made by tools. By hands that had known exactly where to cut. They did this to you, she breathed. On purpose. Morvith's grief surged. And with it came something pressed straight into her mind. Fire. Refusal. Men with irons. And far above it all, a small voice crying. A boy's voice. You wouldn't obey, Asha whispered. So they took your sight. To break you. She sat back, sick to her heart. This was no curse. No madness. The kingdom's great monster was a victim of the kingdom itself. That isn't possible. The voice came from the dark behind her. Asha turned. Draven stood at the foot of the stair. He had come down himself. No guards, no crown. Say it again, he said. His voice was strange. What you just said. He was blinded on purpose, Asha said. By handlers. By Varik's methods. Because he refused a rider. No. Draven shook his head slowly. He went mad. He turned on his bond. They told me. He stopped. Asha rose. Told you what, Majesty? For a long moment, the Dragon King said nothing. When he spoke at last, the king was gone. Only a tired man remained. He was mine, Draven said. 30 years ago I was a boy. They gave me a hatchling ash gray, the finest of his clutch. Morvath. He looked at the great blind shape in the dark. We were never apart. I loved him more than anything in this world. Asha's breath caught. Then one day, they took him for training. Varric said he'd grown wild, that he had turned on me. Draven's jaw worked. They told me my dragon had gone mad, that the only mercy was to chain him below and never speak his name again. I was a child. I believed them. His voice cracked. For 30 years I believed I had failed him. You didn't fail him, Asha said softly. No. His eyes were wet. I see that now. They did this. And they let me carry the guilt. So I would never think to ask why. Morvath lifted his head toward the sound of Draven's voice, and the grief that poured off him changed. Sharpened. He came almost too much to bear. Asha pressed a hand to her chest. He knows you, she whispered. Majesty. He never turned on you. He's been crying for you. All this time. For 30 years. Draven looked at the dragon he had mourned and feared and left to the dark. And the Dragon King who ruled a kingdom did not know what to say. Far above them, a door opened. Footsteps crossed stone. Asha and Draven both went still, because in the same breath they understood the same terrible thing. If this was true of Morvath, if the dragons were never mad, only broken, then everything the kingdom believed about the flame bond was a lie, and one man had built all his power upon it, a man who was, even now, beginning to wonder where his king had gone. Asha did not stop her visits, but now the king came too. Each evening they went down together, and each evening Morvath softened a little more. Yet something else was happening above the pit. The dragons of the realm were changing. In the war yards, a great red beast refused his rider. He simply lay down and would not rise. In the northern keep, 2 dragons broke their chains and flew, not away to burn villages, but to circle the sky once, slowly, and return. Across the kingdom, dragons stopped fighting. They feel him, Asha told Draven. Morvath. He's been silent for years. Now he's awake. And they hear him, the way I do. And what does he tell them? That they don't have to obey. She looked at the great blind head in her lap. That they were never meant to. It was Morvath who showed her the rest. He led her. By feeling, by pulling at her heart to a wall at the back of the pit, a wall that rang hollow. Behind it lay a stair, and beneath the royal dragon yards, hidden chambers. Asha brought a torch. What she found there made her sink to her knees. Records. Ledgers in a cold, neat hand. Chain-sized for hatchlings. Devices whose purpose she did not want to name. Tools made to break a young dragon's will. Generation after generation. And the same name signed across the oldest pages and the newest, Varric. And before him, his father. And his father. It was never a bond, Asha whispered. It was a cage. It was order, said a voice from the stair. Varric stood there, the silver chain bright at his throat. 4 armed handlers behind him. You should not have come down here, witch. Asha rose. How many, Varric? How many did you break to keep your power? Every great kingdom rests on a hard truth. His voice did not waver. Dragons are beasts. Left to choose, they choose nothing. We taught them their place. We made this realm safe. You made them weep in the dark. I made them obey. He stepped closer. And I will not let a kitchen witch and a sentimental king undo 300 years in a single night. He turned to his men. The dragon dies tonight. So does she. We will say the beast killed her at last. The king will grieve and the kingdom will sleep soundly, as it always has. No. Doe. Draven stood at the top of the stair. He had heard everything. Majesty. Varric bowed his head, smooth as ever. This is mercy. The girl has poisoned your judgment. Let me end this. Let the realm stay as it was. Draven came down slowly into the torchlight. He looked at the chains, the ledgers. His own dragon's name on a page, written the year he turned 7. You told me he went mad, Draven said. You let me carry that for 30 years, to protect you, to protect the throne. You took my dragon, Draven said. And you took my faith. And you called it protection. His voice was very quiet. Stand down, Dragon Master. Varric's smooth face cracked at last. Then you doom us all, he snarled. And he turned, and he raised his hand toward Morvath, and gave the order to strike the blind dragon down. It happened fast. The handlers moved. Asha threw herself between them and Morvath, arms wide, shielding the great scarred head with her own small body. You'll have to go through me, she cried, and Morvath, who had wept for 30 years, felt a human being place herself between him and harm. For him, something broke open in the old dragon, not rage, something larger. He rose to his full height for the first time in 3 decades, vast and ash-gray, and the whole chamber shook. The handlers stumbled back. Varric's mouth fell open, but Morvath did not strike the men. He did not breathe fire upon the kingdom that had broken him. He turned his ruined eyes upward, and he unleashed 30 years of grief in a single worldwide cry, and he aimed it at the chains. Every chain, every iron ring, every cruel device in every dragon yard in the realm. They shattered. The sound rolled out across the kingdom like a bell struck at the heart of the world. In every keep, every yard, every pit, the irons fell away as if they had never been, and in that ringing silence every dragon in the realm woke fully and understood at last that the cage was open. They had a choice now, to stay or to go. Asha stood in the trembling chamber, her hand on Morvath's flank, tears on her face. It's done, she breathed. Oh, Morvath, it's finally done. Varric looked around wildly at the broken chains, at the freed and rising power he had spent his life suppressing. You've destroyed us, he said. They'll leave. They'll all leave. They'll all leave. The kingdom is finished. Draven stepped past him. He did not even raise his voice. Take the Dragon Master, he told his guards, and seal these chambers. The realm will see every page. Let them know the truth, whatever it costs me. Then the Dragon King turned his back on Varric for the last time and walked to the dragon he had lost as a boy. He laid his hand on the great scarred snout. I'm sorry, Draven said. I should have come for you. I should have known you never left me. Morvath lowered his head and pressed it, gently, so gently, against the chest of the king, who had been a boy who loved him, and the blind dragon, who had screamed for 30 years, made no sound of grief at all. In the days that followed, the kingdom held its breath. The truth came out, page by page. The ash court reeled. The whole proud history of the flame bond fell, and a harder, kinder truth rose in its place. The dragons had never been beasts to break. They had been partners, waiting 300 years to be asked instead of commanded, and then the realm waited to see what the freed dragons would do. Most of them stayed, not because of chains, not because of fear, because given the choice at last, they chose the people who chose them back. A new kind of kingdom began that spring. Quieter. Truer. One built on loyalty earned, the way the very first dragon kings had earned it long ago, before anyone thought to forge a chain. And on a warm afternoon, for the first time in 30 years, they brought Morvath up out of the dark. He came slowly up the long ramp, blinking his clouded eyes against a sun he could not see but could feel. Warm on his scarred gray hide, warm as he had not been warm in all his life below. He lay down in the green grass of the high yard, and he rested in the sunlight. Asha sat beside him, her hand resting on his flank, feeling the slow, easy rise and fall of his breath. No screaming now, no weeping in the dark, just an old dragon, warm and free and no longer alone. Draven came and stood beside them. He looked at the creature he had mourned for half his life, dozing peacefully in the light. For a while, none of them spoke. Then Draven asked very softly, "What did he say?" Asha listened. to the deep, slow, contented sound moving through the old dragon, the first peaceful sound he had made in 30 years. She smiled. He isn't crying anymore.